I wanted to comment on the fact that Trump is saying just say no to this opioid crisis. Like that's our answer. Just say no to drugs, right? Well, here's the reality. What's going on is we need to say just say no to your doctor. Now, I'm going to start off here really quickly by realizing and letting people know that I realize that there are people out there that are suffering with significant pain, that they want something to dull their pain, to help them cope with this pain. And they don't care about addiction risk. They don't care about deadly side effects. They are suffering to the extent that it's either take my life or give me something that might take my life so I can at least deal with this pain. My heart breaks for those people, and I hope for them for better treatments than opioids. You know, the reality, there's so many problems going on right now with this crisis. Number one, it's a crisis by prescription. And we need to say no to our doctors because it's their scripts, it's their signature that has caused this opioid epidemic. And beyond that, it's not even their fault. It's the fact that Purdue Pharma and the Slackler family, one of the richest families in the United States and the world now, $15 billion in assets and money because of addiction crisis in America and across the globe. It's because they lied about the serious addictive properties of these drugs, and then they funded campaigns to falsely convince doctors that their drugs were not addictive, that they were safe. They lied to our doctors. Right there, I don't understand why doctors would even write another prescription for that drug if they found out that they lied to us in the first place. They've killed tens of thousands, 600,000 people, bare minimum, have died as a result of these drugs. Folks, that's unacceptable. And I want to tell you why I'm saying that the answer is not just say no, it's just say no to your doctor, because the reality is this. Even though there are people that may deserve the opportunity to do a deadly drug like fentanyl or opioid just because of how much suffering they're going through, I'm not talking about those individuals. I'm talking about the doctors, though, and the doctors are okay if they were to do really sincere work. Say, did you see a chiropractor? Have you seen an acupuncturist? Have you tried medical marijuana or have you tried hemp oil? Oh, well, then the patients say, and this is what I hear all the time and it breaks my heart, it's because our government subsidized insurances will pay for darn opioids, but they won't pay for hemp oil. That I've seen people in car accidents get out of pain so quickly with hemp oil that literally they drop it underneath their tongue before they even walk out of my office, and suddenly they're like, my pain is already going away. Within minutes. But our insurance won't pay for that, so what's it do to the less fortunate, the less financially capable individual? It takes them and makes them rely on their government subsidized insurance and then pushes them to have to go fill a prescription for an opioid because of their significant pain rather than being able to afford hemp oil because insurance won't pay for it. So our government and our insurances are part of the problem because we have safer and more effective alternatives. And I've said that correctly, more effective alternatives, because the cancer patient pain studies have shown that hemp oil is more effective than opioids. Now, beyond that, why do I say just say no to your doctor? Because our darn doctors here in my own community are nothing but a bunch of criminals and pill pushers. You want to know how I know that? Because I got pharmacists that come into my office as patients. And guess what they've already told me? They told me that their pharmacy won't even fill prescriptions for specific doctors. They have a list of them. That they won't fill the prescription because they know they're pill pushers. If a pharmacy won't fill your prescriptions, you're a drug dealer, not a doctor. All right, sorry, I'm sure this is probably spiking the sound probably doesn't even sound right because I'm getting so fired up. But get this. So I have a patient. He comes in. Give you a couple examples. I have a patient. He comes in from a car accident. I'm treating him for his car accident, all right, for his neck pain and his back pain. The guy goes from like an 8 out of 10, which then maybe he deserved to take some sort of drug. He never did. He just toughed it out. Thank God. He's a strong young man. He gets out of pain, or to the point where he's roughly a 2 out of 10 pain. This guy got out of pain very, very quickly. He has to go to his doctor, though, for a physical for his job. What's he do at the physical? He tells his doctor what he's been doing, how's his health been. He communicates to the doctor that he's in a little bit of pain. He's got about a 2 out of 10 pain. He instructs the doctor, lets the doctor know, hey, I've been seeing a great chiropractor. You might not get along with him, he said to the doctor. No, actually didn't tell the doctor that, but he says, He tells his doctor, I'm in a little bit of pain. You know what his doctor did? Wrote him a prescription for narcotics. Says, here's something, you could go fill that if you want something for the pain. A narcotic for a 2 out of 10 pain, when the FDA approved this drug for people who are literally on their deathbed, who shouldn't get the drug unless their life was already at risk and that they already were in such severe pain that it would be worth risking their life. It was not for chronic pain. It was not for low-level pain. That's a drug dealer. That's not a doctor. That doctor attempted to give somebody who is not in need of a narcotic an opioid. It was a young man in his 20s. You know what? When he came back and he told me that, he was baffled about how easy it would be to get that drug, because he knows people in our own community that are using those drugs inappropriately, that are selling those drugs on the street, that have in fact died from addictions from those drugs. And he said he wouldn't touch it. He's like, I wouldn't have filled it even if he gave it to me. I wouldn't take it from him. So that good citizen, that good young man said to his doctor, I'm just going to say no to you because you're a drug dealer. He didn't say that out loud, but he literally said that. That was his action. His action was to say no to his doctor. I'm not going to fill that prescription. I'm not even going to take a single drug that might cause me to become addicted if I have the right genetic code and I'm the right individual for addictive properties of that drug to cause me to become immediately addicted. He said no to his doctor, and that's what we need more of in this country. And we need doctors to be put in jail if they would do something like they did or attempted to do to that young man. That doctor attempted to literally cause an addiction in that boy. There was no medical necessity, none whatsoever, for that doctor to attempt to give an opioid to that young man. So that doctor, in my definition, and what I feel is right, give me a heart or a like or a share, something. Give me a share all the time. If you believe that that doctor deserves to go to jail because he's an attempted drug dealer, not a doctor. Inappropriate prescriptions are criminal offenses and should be seen like that. And these doctors need to be investigated if a pharmacy won't even fill their prescriptions. Trump, you're close, but you need me on your advisory board, I guess, so that I can actually advise you to say what needs to be said, which is the doctors, it's addiction by prescription. I appreciate you guys all being online right now. I see about 40 people already live, so exactly the same thing tried to do with me for sciatica. So Adam says, exactly the same thing they tried to do to him for sciatica pain, which needs chiropractic treatment. But I'm sorry, Adam, here's what's going to happen. And I'm not after you. Get this. This is what's happening to our military veterans. Adam, you bring up a great point here. All right, I got military veterans in my community. We're losing 22 U.S. veterans. That was several years ago they did the research studies. By prescription addiction and narcotic overdoses and opioid overdoses, and then you got your antidepressant overdoses. And depression and PTSD and severe pain are taking the lives of our soldiers because they don't know what else to do. And our darn medical system will sit there and tell them, well, we don't believe in chiropractic, so we're not going to let you, we won't, because guess what? The VA is now paying for around 12 to 24 visits for our military veterans, and they come in my office and I get them out of pain. But then they stop. And then 6 months later, because the veterans can't afford their own care, guess what? Even though I literally bare bones my price, folks, and I've literally offered to almost give my care away to our veterans to keep them off their opioids. And I don't get paid by the government, but they'll hand them out like candy to our veterans. I got one veteran just recently started caring here. Within one adjustment, dropped his pain by 50%. One adjustment. And guess what? Guess what he told me? He told me the story of how he used to be addicted to opioids, had to go through drug rehab. And even after going through opioid drug addiction rehab, his doctor at the VA, his medical physician, sits there and says, here, take an opioid every 4 hours to take care of your pain. And he goes, I was addicted, I'm never going back, so I don't take them unless, God forbid, I absolutely have to. But they'll hand those drugs out for like candy. So our insurance, our government will give all our veterans who are committing suicide and dying from opioid overdoses like crazy, more than any other population practically. They're giving those like candy. They'll pay for that for every day, multiple drugs a day for our veterans, yet they won't continuously pay for chiropractic care that can keep these veterans off of opioids, off of their drugs. That is unacceptable. That is when we need to say no as a society to our doctors for inappropriate prescribing. And then we need to get our doctors to wake up and start doing what they should be doing, which is petitioning and pushing to be advocates. Some are, and thank God for the ones that are. That should be advocates. I've got another patient who's in here. He's going to a pain clinic getting narcotics, opioids, and when he goes to them and he asks them, hey, I'd like to try CBD oil. I'd like to try hemp oil because it works pretty good. I've seen a lot of people it worked for. I'd like to get off of these opioids, these drugs, these addictive narcotics, these dangerous, deadly narcotics. I'd like to get off of them. And he says, I'm just worried if the hemp oil could show up as THC in my urine. So what does doctors say? It's either our way or the highway. They literally sit there. A pain clinic in my community says to the patient, well, you know what? If you're going to do that, we won't give you narcotics anymore. You know what? That's putting a rock in a hard spot. He's like, I don't know what else to do because I'm pretty sure I'm not necessarily addicted to them, but I know that I'm dependent on them now, and I know that I have gone through withdrawals when trying or being short a few days in my prescription. And he's like, I don't know how to do this without their help, but they won't help me. So we have doctors in our own communities that literally are sitting here saying, you know what, I'm not going to help you get off of a deadly medication. You need to stay on my drug, or there's the door, go try your own hemp oil. And leave you high and dry. That's not a good doctor, that's a drug dealer. Folks, I'm sorry for getting fired up, but I don't know how anybody can't. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. I mean, you've got to read the research. There's a child, one case study of a child laying next to his mom after breastfeeding, laying in bed, up against, God forbid, it was up against the fentanyl patch on that mom. And because of the absorption through the skin from fentanyl patch that was on the mother, killed that baby. And we sit here and say that, oh, all these, we want to sit here and say that marijuana is this evil. We even get Christians out there saying, I'm a Christian, folks. You know what? God made that plant and he made it for a reason. We better figure out how to use it and how to appropriately use it. God used to drink wine, but he didn't want us to get drunk. So maybe God said, don't get high and smoke it, but I want you to use it for medicinal purposes. What if he said that? But we sit here as Christians and saying marijuana is all bad. No, that's a God-made plant, and you better accept the fact that God made it for a purpose, and then stop chastising and condemning the things that God created. God created the heavens and the earth and everything in it, and what did he say? It's good. God said that about marijuana. Oh, now you got me preaching. That was funny, but Anthony should have heard it. My sister was like, yeah, I went home for a little vacation talking to my Grandma Brown. And she's like, yeah, every once in a while I get on the TV and I watch Dale's sermons. I'm like, well, I do get kind of preachy every once in a while. Woo! All right, folks, just say no to your doctor, because that's the way we're going to fight this opioid epidemic. T-shirts coming next, right?